I grew up a diamond dealer's daughter. That sounds glamorous, right? And sometimes it was, especially when Dad came home sharing stories about clients, famous celebrities, rap artists. I remember when I was younger going to my dad's office, downtown jewelry district. I got to try on all the diamond rings and all the necklaces. Everywhere I went, everyone knew my dad. He is Sam the Diamond Man. They were great times. But life as a diamond dealer's daughter wasn't always glamorous. I remember my mother telling me that I was the target of a kidnapping scheme. Have you ever felt like your life was a scene from a movie? For me, it was a thriller, and I was the target. Raise your hand if you've ever felt like you had to look over your shoulder, even in a place you thought was safe. I learned two things that day. That being a diamond dealer's daughter was not that glamorous after all. And from that day forward, I would never have a problem with my self-esteem or self-worth. Considering there was a pretty hefty bounty for my kidnapping in return, clearly I was worthy. That's my finding the humor in the darkness. And it was right around that time my mother introduced me to martial arts and put me in karate classes. How many of you have ever been put in karate classes? I think all of us at some point. But here's an interesting fact. About 10,000 people take classes, about 1 in 1,000 attain a black belt. And I have 2. Who would have thought I would have grown up to be a real-life ninja? Now that wasn't my initial goal when I came to karate. I wanted to learn self-defense and situational awareness. But then something changed over time. I learned to fall in love with the art. I wanted to do it every day for hours. Then years later in my training, I remember my teacher, my sensei, asking me, "Sharon, why are you training? What is your goal?" Now, before I tell you how I answered, you need to know something about me. Today, I'm the creator of what I call Black Belt Leadership, Lessons from the Martial Art Mat. Look, how many therapists, chief clinical officers who are single mothers and second-degree black belts do you know? That's the energy, spirit, and discipline I bring to everything I do. Today, I'm going to share a few lessons from the martial art mat that changed everything. For me and for thousands of people, I've helped level up and improve their professional and personal lives. So here I am, back on the martial art mat, and my sensei is asking me, "What is your goal? Why are you training?" I told him I enjoyed it. There were so many lessons in my martial art training that carried with me off the mat. Everything suddenly changed. It wasn't just about learning to defend myself and fight back, although that did come with it. It had everything to do with me, to develop courage, to face my fears. It was the discipline, the empowerment. I had a tribe. I am so honored to have the privilege of training under my sensei, Master Fariborz Ajak, who introduced me to a lineage of legendary masters, heroes like Benny the Jet Urquidez, Master Steve Stakston, Sifu Ron Baliki, and others. To train with these legends was humbling, and they didn't just teach me martial arts. They taught me warrior philosophies about discipline, honor, and courage to become who I'm meant to be. Martial arts encouraged me to step into my strength. And then Sensei said something to me that completely blew me away. He said, "Sharon, I want you to test for red in a month and for black belt in a year." Now let me give you some perspective on this. To attain a black belt, you have to go through years of training on the mat, various testing and ranks. We're talking white belt, orange belt, yellow, green, blue, purple, red, and black. And he was asking me to step into courage and skip 7 belts worth of training. He saw something in me. And from that day forward, I started looking at myself differently. I took a breath, and I made a decision to start my extensive training towards my red and eventual black belt. You see, my martial arts tribe taught me that if I could have 10 seconds, I could do anything. Because all you need were those 10 seconds to build on 10 seconds and build on 10 seconds. And once I made that decision, the training began. I trained for 2 to 4 hours a day, 8 hours on the weekends. I meditated, I read, I journaled, I was laser focused. 10 seconds turned into hours, weeks, months, but only 10 seconds at a time. How many of you could do something hard for 10 seconds? And after my black belt, I learned so many lessons from the mat to integrate into my life as a mother and a leader. My first lesson: when fighting an opponent, distractions could be deadly and dangerous. There's no time for internal chatter. Am I fast enough? What if they counter? What will others think? You must learn to fight the real enemy, distractions. And we face opponents every day, deadlines, difficult conversations, major decisions, but we're often fighting the wrong battles. We battle our phones instead of focusing on our goals. We battle our inner critic instead of taking action. We battle imaginary scenarios, stories we make up in our head about situations or people instead of the present realities. What actually needs your attention versus what's just noise in this fight called life? What distractions are coming for you? My next lesson. Kiai! How many of you have heard that famous karate scream? The Kiai, the Wusa, or the traditional Karate Kid version, the Hiya. I'm going to tell you, a Kiai forces proper breathing and breath control. It engages your core muscles for powerful techniques. It can startle or distract an opponent. It builds confidence and assertiveness. It helps with focus, mental energy, and intention. It demonstrates the spirit and fighting attitude. It shows respect for the art and training. A key up in life, it's speaking up in meetings when you have something valuable to contribute. It's setting boundaries with confidence rather than apologizing. It's asking for what you need without shrinking. It's expressing your authentic self, even when it feels vulnerable. A Kiai is a call to courage. It is asking for help. My next lesson, taking a hit. When you take a hit, a real hit, it hurts. Your body screams. Your pride stings. And for a moment, you're stunned. But here's what happens next. You get up. Not because you're invincible, but because getting knocked down teaches you something that standing tall never could. It teaches you humility. It teaches you gratitude for your strength and for your ability to rise, for the fact that you can take a hit and still be here. And each time you get back up, you're not the same person who fell down. Life works that way. We get knocked down by loss, by failure, by circumstances beyond our control. My last lesson, your time is now. I recall sparring in my training and sensei telling me that when I'm standing in front of my opponent, everything that I've been training for comes into play now. Every lesson, every piece of skill, everything comes into play now, not tomorrow and not next week, right now. Over the last 30 years, martial arts has literally changed my life. Changed how I parent, changed how I work, changed how I love, how I lead, and completely changed my vision of how I see the world, 10 seconds at a time. As a leader, I bring the mat with me every day. When my team faces challenges, we have 10 seconds of courage. When difficult conversations are needed, the Kiai speaks with purpose. When someone takes a hit, they get back up with humility and dignity. When chaos surrounds us, we fight the real enemy, distractions. Everything I do, how I train, how I parent, how I lead is done at a black belt level, with discipline, with perseverance, with commitment, not perfection, consistency. Because black belt isn't something you achieve once or twice. It's how you show up every single day. So here's what I want you to do. And you only need 10 seconds of courage to do it. Right now, I want you to think of one thing you've been avoiding, one conversation you need to have, one decision you need to make, one dream you've been putting off until you're ready. And when you leave here today, I want you to take that 10 seconds toward that thing, just 10 seconds. Send that text, make that call, say those words, and take that first step. Because here's what I know after years on the mat and in the trenches of life. You don't need to have it all figured out. You don't need to be fearless. You just need 10 seconds. That's how black belts are made. That's how leaders are born. And that's how lives are changed. Your opponent is waiting. Your distraction is real, but so is your courage. Your time is now. Kiai!